When approaching the problems presented by the natural world and the universe, science seems to start with the presupposition that the God of the Bible does not exist, ignoring even the possibility that God is actually the creator. Science has even created its own starting point for the universe, known as the Big Bang, from which everything evolved, and it is considered to be absolute truth. I'm Dr. Rich Masek, the author of Ideolatry, God is Not Your Problem, and today we will explore the universe. The famed physicist Stephen Hawking said in his 2005 book, A Briefer History of Time, "The eventual goal of science is to provide a single theory that describes the whole universe. First, there are laws that tell us how the universe changes with time. Second, there's the question of the initial state of the universe. Some regard the question of the initial situation as a matter for metaphysics or religion. Yet it appears that God chose to make it evolve in a very regular way, according to certain laws." He went on to say, "We have craved an understanding of the underlying order in the world. Today we still yearn to know why we are here and where we came from." The craving that science keeps trying to fill exists within each one of us. However, man's desire for knowledge and his desire to define his own existence do not lead him to discover the truth about God. Through science and knowledge, man seeks to fill the God-shaped hole that we discussed earlier in the God concept episode. We humans seek a God to serve, but that God is frequently one of our own making. Speaking of science and the Big Bang, Hawking went on to say, "As far as we are concerned, events before the Big Bang can have no consequences and should not form a part of a scientific model of the universe. We should therefore cut them out of the model and say that the Big Bang was the beginning of time. This means that questions such as who set up the conditions for the Big Bang are not questions that science addresses." The assumption stated here is that science knows with certainty what has happened since the Big Bang, which supposedly occurred millions of years ago. At one time, science also claimed to know that there were only four elements in the universe: fire, earth, water, ether or air. At that time, everything revolved around these four elements. It is also interesting to note that scientists once believed that the world was flat, the earth was the center of the universe, and the sun revolved around the earth. These ill-formed sets of suppositions and theories are clearly erroneous based on our current understanding. But at the time, there were many factors that supported these theories and solidified them into fact. One factor was the control of religion upon science. Centralizing science under the umbrella of religion was an effective way to control thought and dominate the people, suppressing serious investigation. Fortunately, we have learned a bit more about the universe due to the noble efforts of the scientific process and thought. The Big Bang may indeed be the way that God started the universe as we know it. But just like religion in the Middle Ages, it seems that science declares absolutes when they suit its purpose. However, history makes it evident that in a few hundred years or less, scientists will modify the understandings of our time. Current conclusions and theories about the origin of the universe and evolution are subject to change and should not be held and taught as absolutes. So where did the stuff come from that allowed the Big Bang to happen? We don't have that answer, but it would seem obvious that there must be another force at work that science does not understand or want to acknowledge. Science arbitrarily sets its parameters of exploration, starting only where it thinks it knows something, and ignores anything that occurs before that point in time. But if the Big Bang is correct, where did the stuff come from that started it? Observations and conclusions that are based on science are not absolute, even though they are presented that way. They are subject to the interpretation of the observer. If there was a singularity at the origin of the Big Bang, it is not unreasonable to believe that it came from God. Regardless of the conclusions drawn about God and creation versus the Big Bang and evolution, a commitment of faith is required to accept either one. I invite you to read Ideolatry, to explore relativity and absolutes in a way that may give you a different perspective. Check it out at ideolatry.com, where you can read my blog and download the free chapter. And I hope that you will join me for the next episode, in which we will explore perspectives and relativity, the problem with observational truth.